The frozen comet glittered against the void, a silent sentinel drifting through the Kuiper belt of an unexplored star system. Its irregular surface reflected the distant starlight, casting long shadows across valleys of ancient ice. In its slow tumble, a metallic glint occasionally flashed, something unnatural embedded within its frozen heart. Kalen guided his harvester ship closer, his hands dancing across the control interface with practiced ease. The small vessel responded instantly, thrusters firing in perfect sequence as he aligned his approach vector. Behind him, the vast silhouette of the Xylar fleet home blocked out a portion of the starfield. Massive hollowed-out asteroids converted into self-sustaining habitats, their surfaces dotted with cultivation domes and energy collectors. Harvester 7 to control, Kalen said into his communicator. I'm tracking an unusual energy signature from the large comet at Sector 9. Permission to investigate. Control to Harvester 7, came the immediate response. Stick to the designated harvest route, Kalen. We need those ice resources before the fleet moves on. Kalen frowned, studying the readings on his display. The energy signature pulsed at irregular intervals, unlike anything natural. Control, this isn't a standard radiation pattern. It's structured, artificial. A long pause followed. Kalen knew what the elders were thinking. The Xylar had survived for generations by avoiding confrontation, by staying below the notice of the various galactic powers. Their nomadic existence among the stellar frontier was predicated on independence and isolation. Proceed with caution, Control finally answered. But maintain communication. At the first sign of danger, withdraw immediately. Kalen grinned. Understood, Control. Harvester 7 proceeding. He adjusted his course, excitement building in his chest. The other comet hunters of his team, Nara and Vex, moved their ships into supporting positions. You're going to get us all in trouble again. Nara's voice crackled through the comm. Despite her words, Kalen could hear the curiosity in her tone. Probably, Kalen admitted. But don't pretend you're not interested too. As they approached the comet, their scanners revealed more anomalies. What had initially appeared to be natural surface formations were revealed as corroded metal structures protruding from the ice. Geometric patterns too regular to be anything but artificial. It's a ship, Vex whispered in awe. A ship trapped in the comet. Kalen adjusted the scanners, getting clearer readings. Not trapped. I think the comet formed around it. This thing has been here for centuries, maybe millennia. They maneuvered around the massive comet, mapping the extent of the artificial structure. Whatever it was, it had been enormous, easily rivaling the size of the Xylar's largest hollowed asteroids. Most of it was encased in ice now, but sections protruded like ancient bones from the frozen tomb. I'm detecting a cavity on the southern hemisphere, Nara reported. Could be an entrance point, some kind of hangar or docking bay. Kalen brought his harvester around, illuminating the area with external lights. The ice had partially collapsed inward, revealing a cavernous space beyond. I'm going in. Kalen, Vex cautioned. The elders said to be careful. And I'm being very careful, Kalen replied, slowly navigating his vessel into the opening. I'm just being careful inside the mysterious ancient spacecraft. The harvester's lights cut through the darkness, illuminating a vast chamber. Ice crystals had formed on every surface, but the artificial nature of the environment was unmistakable. Geometric supports arched overhead, and what appeared to be docking clamps lined the walls. Kalen settled his ship onto a relatively flat section of deck. I'm going EVA, he announced, already reaching for his environmental suit. Not alone, Nara responded firmly. I'm coming with you. Vex, maintain position outside and keep communication open with Control. Kalen and Nara emerged from the harvester into the frozen hangar. Their suit lights cut bright paths through the darkness, revealing more details of the ancient vessel. The architecture was unlike anything in Xylar records, neither organic like the Morel designs, nor crystalline like Voss technology. This was something different, something unknown. Look at the deterioration patterns, Nara said, examining a nearby bulkhead. This wasn't battle damage. This ship was abandoned, left to drift. They moved deeper into the vessel, following corridors lined with frozen pipes and conduits. Occasionally, they passed compartments that might have been living quarters or storage areas. Those centuries of exposure to the vacuum had left little to identify their original purpose. The energy signature is getting stronger, Kalen noted, checking the scanner integrated into his suit. It's coming from somewhere. Ahead, they navigated through the labyrinthine passages, occasionally having to detour around collapsed sections or areas completely filled with ice. Eventually, they emerged into what could only have been the command center of the vessel. A semicircular array of control stations faced a large forward section where view screens might once have been mounted. "It's still active," Nara whispered, pointing to a single illuminated console in the center of the room. A faint blue light pulsed from it, casting eerie shadows across the frost-covered surfaces. Kalen approached cautiously. The console's surface was covered with symbols unlike any language he recognized. A central display showed what appeared to be a star map, with one particular system highlighted. "Is that our current location?" Nara asked, studying the map. "I don't think so," Kalen replied. "The stellar configuration doesn't match. And look at this symbol that keeps appearing." A simple geometric design pulsed at regular intervals on the screen. A circle with radiating lines, somewhat resembling a stylized sun. Neither of them recognized its significance. "This ship isn't from any civilization we've encountered," Kalen said, excitement evident in his voice. "This could be the discovery of a lifetime." "Or the mistake of a lifetime," Nara countered. "Unknown technology is dangerous, Kalen. We should report this to the elders before we do anything else." Kalen nodded absently, his attention fixed on the console. There must be a way to access more information. He studied the interface, noting how the light patterns seemed to respond to his proximity. Following a hunch, he passed his hand over a section that appeared more sensitive to movement. The console suddenly flared to life, the blue light intensifying dramatically. The star map expanded, filling the air above the console with a three-dimensional projection. A new symbol appeared, different from the sun-like icon, pulsing urgently. "What did you do?" Nara asked, backing away slightly. "I don't know," Kalen admitted, "but I think I just activated something." The pulsing symbol transformed into a directional indicator, pointing to a specific location on the star map. A series of glyphs appeared alongside it, scrolling too quickly to follow. "Is that a message?" Nara wondered. Before Kalen could respond, the entire ship shuddered around them. The energy signature they had detected earlier suddenly intensified tenfold. The console was now emitting a high-pitched tone that even their suits' audio filters couldn't completely dampen. "Kalen, Nara," Vex's panicked voice came through their comms. "Something's happening. The comet is generating some kind of directed energy burst. It's like a beacon." "We need to leave," Nara said urgently, pulling at Kalen's arm. "Now, wait." Kalen resisted. "We need to understand what this is. Can you shut it down?" He frantically searched the console for any obvious control mechanism. "It's too risky," Nara insisted. "We don't know what we're dealing with. This signal could attract attention from anywhere in the galaxy." As if in response to her words, a secondary display activated on the console. It showed what appeared to be a real-time projection of the surrounding space. A new object had appeared, a point of light moving rapidly toward their position. "Something's coming," Kalen whispered. "Vex," Nara called through the comm. "What are your sensors showing?" "There's a distortion forming at the edge of the system," Vex reported, his voice tense. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen. The energy readings are off the charts." The three Xylers swiftly returned to their ships, launching from the frozen hangar back into open space. From this vantage point, they could see that the entire comet was now glowing with an eerie blue light that pulsed in regular patterns, the beacon transmitting its message to the stars. "We should return to the fleet home immediately," Vex urged. "The elders need to know about this." "And tell them what?" Kalen countered. "That we activated an unknown alien beacon that's now calling who knows what to our location. We'll be exiled." Better exiled than dead, Nara replied grimly. Besides, the fleet needs to be warned. Whatever's coming might not be friendly. As they debated, their sensors alerted them to a new development. Something had entered the system, moving at incredible speed, far faster than any Xylar vessel could travel. Within minutes, it had reached the outer Kuiper belt where they hovered near the comet. Hide, Kalen ordered, maneuvering his harvester behind a nearby asteroid. The others followed suit, powering down non-essential systems to minimize their signature. From their hiding place, they watched as a sleek vessel approached the comet. It was unlike any ship they had ever seen. Its hull was smooth and elongated, with no visible external machinery. It moved with an elegant precision that spoke of advanced propulsion technology. Is it automated? Vex wondered. Or is someone piloting it? The mysterious vessel took up position near the comet, extending what appeared to be scanning apparatus. It methodically examined the ancient ship, paying particular attention to the active beacon. It recognized the signal, Kalen realized. It came specifically for this. After several minutes of scanning, the vessel withdrew slightly. A new energy signature emanated from it, a concentrated burst directed back toward the direction for which it had come. It's reporting back, Nara said, calling for others. The three Xylar watched in tense silence as the vessel continued its examination of the comet. Occasionally, it would emit another signal burst, presumably transmitting more findings to its distant controllers. We should try to communicate with it, Kalen suggested suddenly. Establish first contact before more arrive. That's insane, Vex protested. We know nothing about them. What if they're hostile? What if they're not? Kalen countered. This could be the most important moment in Xylar history, meeting a new spacefaring species. Or the last moment in Xylar history, Nara muttered. Before they could reach a decision, fate intervened. A chunk of ice, destabilized by the beacon's energy emissions, broke free from the comet and drifted directly into the path of Vex Harvester. In his haste to avoid collision, Vex activated his thrusters, creating a brief but noticeable energy flare. The reaction from the unknown vessel was immediate. It pivoted with startling speed, training what were unmistakably weapon systems on the position of the Xylar ships. A focused scan swept over their hiding place, stripping away any concealment provided by the asteroid. They've seen us, Nara said, her voice tight with fear. The vessel approached cautiously, maintaining its weapons lock. A transmission burst hit their communication systems, resolving into an audio message in galactic trade speak, the simplified language used by various species for basic commerce. Identify yourselves, came a flat, mechanical voice. You are trespassing on Commonwealth reclamation territory. State your purpose. The three Xylar exchanged startled glances through their ship-to-ship video link. Commonwealth. Vex whispered. What Commonwealth? Kalen took a deep breath and opened a response channel. This is Kalen of the Xylar people. We are peaceful comet harvesters who discovered this ancient vessel by chance. We meant no intrusion. There was a pause before the response came. Xylar. Unknown designation. Explain your presence at this Lazarus object. Lazarus object? Kalen repeated, confused. We don't understand that term. We were harvesting ice from comets for our fleet home when we detected the energy signature. We investigated out of scientific curiosity. Another pause, longer this time. Then the unknown vessel's external lights flashed once, and a new voice came through the communication system. This one clearly organic rather than synthetic, though still speaking trade speak. This is Scout Commander Elias of the Human Commonwealth Expeditionary Force. Did you activate the beacon on that vessel? Human. The word meant nothing to the Xylar, but they recognized the implications of the question. It was accidental, Kalen replied honestly. We were examining the control console when the system activated. We couldn't determine how to shut it down. The response was immediate and cold. You have interfered with a Class 1 recovery operation of critical importance to the Commonwealth. Your vessels are to power down and prepare for boarding and interrogation. Boarding? Nara cut in. We've done nothing wrong. We have the right to free passage in unclaimed space under galactic concordance principles. This space is not unclaimed, the human replied sharply. This system falls under Emergency Declaration 773A of the Expansion Directive. All non-Commonwealth vessels are subject to security protocols. Kalen felt a chill that had nothing to do with the freezing void around them. Something about the human's tone, the absolute certainty of authority, reminded him of the tales Xylar elders told about the galactic empires they had fled generations ago. "We respectfully decline boarding," Kalen stated firmly. "We will depart this system immediately and trouble you no further." The human vessel's weapons systems powered up further, energy readings spiking dramatically on the Xylar sensors. "Compliance is not optional," Commander Elias stated flatly. "Power down your vessels, or we will be forced to disable them." The tension stretched between them like a taut wire. Kalen's mind raced, calculating their options. The human vessel clearly outclassed their simple harvesters in both weaponry and speed. Fighting was futile. Running seemed equally hopeless. Suddenly, the human vessel's posture changed. Its weapons lowered slightly as it received a new transmission, one that the Xylar couldn't intercept. The commander's voice, when it returned, had gained an edge of urgency. "Scout Vessel Hermes to command. Confirm priority Omega regarding indigenous contact at Lazarus Site 7. Whatever response the human received wasn't shared with the Xylar, but its effect was evident. The scout vessel backed away slightly, maintaining its targeting lock, but no longer actively threatening. Unauthorized sentience, Commander Elias addressed them, his voice now carefully neutral. "Hold your position and await further instructions. Interference with Commonwealth operations carries severe penalties." As the humans waited for whatever instructions were forthcoming, Kalen noticed a change in their scanner readings. The massive energy distortion at the system's edge that Vex had reported earlier was growing, resolving into multiple distinct signatures. "More ships are coming," Nara whispered over their private channel. "Many more." The human commander appeared to be engaged in internal communication, occasionally glancing at the Xylar vessels with an expression that was difficult to interpret through the visual feed. Finally, he looked directly at the transmission camera. "Emergency code Omega confirmed. Primary fleet arrival in 17 minutes. Directive: secure and retrieve full Lazarus object. No Commonwealth witnesses." The transmission cut abruptly, but not before the Xylar caught the implications of the final phrase. Kalen felt his blood run cold. "They're going to kill us," Vex said, voicing what they all realized. "They don't want anyone to know about this Lazarus object, whatever it is." The human vessel had withdrawn to a safe distance, but continued to monitor them closely. It was clearly waiting for reinforcements before taking further action. Kalen made a swift decision. "We need to warn our people. Whatever these humans are, they clearly consider this ancient ship valuable enough to kill for. The fleet home could be in danger. How do we escape?" Nara asked. "Their vessel is faster than ours." "Not individually," Kalen agreed. "But they can't chase all three of us in different directions. I'll draw their attention while you two make a run for the fleet home." "That's suicide," Vex protested. "It's necessary," Kalen insisted. "The elders need to know what's coming." Before they could argue further, the human vessel suddenly pivoted toward them. Commander Elias's face appeared on their screens once more, but this time there was a different quality to his expression, a tension that hadn't been there before. "Xylar vessels," he said quickly, his voice lower than before. "Listen carefully. The fleet approaching this position is under direct control protocols. They are authorized to eliminate all witnesses to Lazarus object recovery. I cannot prevent this. You have 14 minutes to reach the outer system boundary before their sensors can lock your position. Go now." The transmission cut off as abruptly as it had begun. The three Xylar stared at each other in shock. "Was that a warning?" Nara asked, bewildered. "Or a trick?" Vex countered. "To lure us into the open." Kalen checked his long-range sensors. The energy distortions were resolving into clearer signatures now. Dozens of vessels, all significantly larger than the scout ship currently watching them. Trick or not, we can't stay here, Kalen decided. Prepare for maximum acceleration on my mark. Scatter pattern Epsilon. They positioned their harvesters, orienting toward different escape vectors. The human vessel maintained its distance, weapons still locked, but not firing. Mark, Kalen called, and the three Xyler ships burst into motion, engines straining at full capacity. The human scout ship swung around, as if to pursue, but instead of choosing one target, it fired a spread of energy pulses that deliberately missed all three harvesters, creating a sensor-blinding flash that momentarily obscured their departure. He's covering for us, Nara realized in astonishment. They pushed their engines beyond safety limits, racing toward the outer boundary of the system. Behind them, the first of the human fleet vessels emerged from the distortion field, massive warships bristling with weapon emplacements and scanner arrays. We won't all make it, Vex said grimly, watching the approaching armada on his rear sensors. They're too fast. We have to try, Kalen insisted, even as his own instruments showed the futility of their escape attempt. The human warships were accelerating at rates the Xyler harvesters couldn't hope to match. Just as capture seemed inevitable, a new sensor reading appeared, a nearby asteroid field with high metallic content that would confuse standard tracking systems. Into the asteroids, Kalen ordered. Use the mineral interference to mask our signatures. They plunged into the dense field, navigating through narrow gaps. Between tumbling rocks with the desperate skill born of years spent harvesting comets. The pursuing human vessels slowed, unable to match the Xyler's agility in the cluttered environment. For hours, they played a deadly game of hide-and-seek among the asteroids, gradually working their way toward the system's edge. The human fleet had spread out, establishing a search perimeter, but their heavy warships were ill-suited to the confined spaces of the asteroid field. We might actually make it, Nara said cautiously as they approached the outer boundary. Then disaster struck. A piece of debris struck Vex's harvester, damaging one of his thrust manifolds. His ship began leaking plasma, creating a visible trail that cut through the sensor interference. They've spotted me, Vex reported, his voice steady despite the circumstances. 3 pursuit craft closing fast. We'll circle back, Kalen began, already adjusting his course. No, Vex cut him off firmly. The fleet home needs to be warned. I'll draw them away from your position. Before they could argue, Vex accelerated his damaged vessel directly toward the nearest human warship, broadcasting a wide-spectrum distress call that would attract maximum attention. Vex, don't, Nara called, but it was too late. The human vessels immediately converged on the damaged harvester, abandoning their search for the other 2 Xyler ships. Kalen and Nara watched in horror as Vex's small craft was surrounded by the massive warships, a tiny moat engulfed by predators. Go, came Vex's final transmission. Tell our people what happened here. Tell them about the humans. His signal cut off abruptly. The human vessels maintained position for several minutes, then gradually dispersed, resuming their search pattern, but with notably less intensity than before. They think they got all of us, Nara realized. Vex's sacrifice bought us a chance. With heavy hearts but renewed determination, Kalen and Nara slipped past the perimeter of the human fleet. Once clear of the system, they pushed their harvesters to maximum sustainable speed, racing toward the distant coordinates where the Xyler fleet home would be continuing its endless journey through the stars. 3 days later, they arrived at the rendezvous point. The massive, hollowed asteroids of the Xyler fleet hung in formation against the backdrop of a nebula, oblivious to the danger that now lurked among the stars. Kalen and Nara were immediately summoned before the Council of Elders, where they related everything they had witnessed. The council chamber fell silent when they finished their report. The oldest of the elders, Matriarch Celine, leaned forward on her ceremonial staff. In all our generations of wandering, she said slowly, we have encountered many species, many empires. But never have we heard of these. Humans. Never have we witnessed technology, such as you describe. They're coming, Kalen insisted. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. They believed we were the only witnesses, but once they examine the ancient ship more closely, they'll find evidence of our presence. They'll look for where we came from. Then we must accelerate our journey, another elder suggested. Move beyond their reach. For how long? Nara challenged. You didn't see their ships, their speed, their weapons. We can't outrun them forever. The debate raged through the night, whether to flee, to hide, to attempt diplomacy, or even to prepare for an impossible defense. By morning, a consensus had formed. The Xylar would continue their nomadic existence, but with new urgency and purpose. Scouts would be dispatched in all directions to gather information about these humans and their commonwealth. The fleet would adjust its course to more isolated regions of the galaxy, places where even ambitious empires seldom ventured. As the meeting concluded, Kalen stood at a viewport, watching the distant stars. Somewhere out there, the humans were studying the ancient ship embedded in the comet, the Lazarus object they had deemed so valuable. Somewhere out there, too, was Vex, his sacrifice already becoming legend among the younger Xylar. What are you thinking? Nara asked, joining him at the viewport. About Commander Elias, Kalen replied. He warned us, risked himself to give us a chance to escape. Why would he do that? Perhaps not all humans share their Commonwealth's views, Nara suggested. Just as not all Xylar share the Council's caution. Kalen nodded slowly, which means there might be hope for understanding between our peoples someday, if we survive long enough to find it. Behind them, the great engines of the fleet home began to power up, preparing to carry the Xylar deeper into the unknown reaches of the galaxy. Ahead lay uncertainty, possibly danger, but also the stars that had always been their home and refuge. We'll be ready next time, Kalen promised quietly, as much to himself as to Nara. When the humans come again, we'll be ready. In the vast control center of the human Commonwealth flagship Harbinger, Admiral Vega studied the holographic display of the recovered Lazarus object. The ancient colony ship, one of the first ever sent from Earth, centuries ago and long thought lost, had yielded its secrets at last. Its navigational records, partially preserved in its damaged systems, had revealed the existence of a potentially habitable world in a sector previously dismissed as barren. The Scout Commander's report indicates indigenous contact, her executive officer noted. A previously unknown species calling themselves the Xylar. Survivors? The Admiral asked, referring to the Xylar ships they had pursued. One vessel confirmed neutralized. The others escaped beyond system boundaries. Given their primitive technology, they pose no significant threat to the operation. Admiral Vega nodded absently, her attention fixed on the ancient ship's data. Have intelligence begin a search for information on these Xylar. Standard protocols apply. As her officers acknowledged the order and dispersed to their duties, the Admiral remained at the display, tracing the projected course that the colony ship had been following before its mysterious disappearance. Whatever had happened to its crew remained unknown, but the ship itself had delivered a final gift to humanity, coordinates to a world that might become humanity's next outpost among the stars. Prepare a report for High Command, she instructed. Operation Lazarus is proceeding to Phase 2. We're going to need more ships. The stars glittered coldly on the view screen as the massive human fleet began to move, inexorably, into the deeper reaches of the frontier, following the path that would eventually bring them into contact, once again, with the nomads of the void.